So, the new movie Rush, went to see it yesterday, first showing. What did you think?
6 people in the audience on the first showing. Must be popular.
Yeah, not a great sign, but it was 3:30 in the afternoon on a Friday.
Yeah, you can't expect too much. It's only because I had the whole day off, so I was able to see it at all.
You know, I was really worried because you've been looking forward to this film for a long time.
Yeah, over a year.
Over a year. You've got me interested in the film thinking, hey, I'm really looking forward to this film. And you know what it's like when you're looking forward to a film and you build up expectations that just can't possibly be met. So I was really worried that we were going to both come away thinking...
Same, yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, but... And you know what? What did I say to you when the film had finished?
I said, oh, so what do you think of that? And you said...
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
So, Edward, why don't you give the people out there what they really want to hear, your full review of the film.
Okay. Set against the glamorous backdrop of the 1970s, Rush is a film about the motor racing rivalry between charismatic Englishman James Hunt and Austrian perfectionist Niki Lauda. When these two extreme personalities clashed on and off the track in their quest to claim the 1976 Formula One World Championship, they both found out just how far they were prepared to go in risking their lives to achieve glory. Illustrious director Rhind-Tutt hasn't had great form recently, I think it's fair to say, his last film being the subpar comedy The Dilemma. Rush, however, signals a return to form for him and writer Peter Morgan, who worked with him on another 70s character-driven drama, Frost Nixon. It's worth remembering this film is not Hollywood Goes F1. It's an Anglo-German independent film, built with a budget of a cool £50 million. And in Howard, one of the few Americans who worked on the production, a high-profile director. In Hunt and Lauda, he has 2 very distinctive and enjoyable characters, who bounce off each other well and help drive the story. The real-life events are in fact so dramatic and unbelievable that there are sparingly few scenes that are made up. And even then, only the most pedantic and harshest of F1 purists could find fault with them, and they're not the target audience for Rush. Cast. From the trailers and most of the film's advertising, I very much got the impression that it was going to have Hunt as the sole protagonist, because he's played by Chris Hemsworth, famous for his role as superhero 4. But actually, Daniel Brühl's Lauda steals the show with a scintillating performance as the calculating, blunt, arrogant and tenacious Austrian. That's not to say Hemsworth disappointed me though, as he does a good job of showing a witty, visceral and complex personality, faring much better than I expected him to do, given his past roles in less thought-provoking blockbuster action movies. Standouts from the supporting cast include Alexandra Maria Lara as Lauda's dutiful wife Marlena, Olivia Wilde as Hunt's supermodel spouse Susie Miller, Christian Mackay and Julian Rhind-Tutt as Hunt's longtime supporters Lord Hesketh and Bubbles Horsley, and Stephen Mangan, aka Dirk Gently, in a minor role as Hunt's down-to-earth but sweary engineer. Visual spectacle. Speaking of action, there's actually plenty of it in this film, in the form of the Grand Prix driving scenes. The editing of the race scenes is great because it has a distinctive stylised quality which makes them seem much more important than just cars driving around in circles. Particularly well covered are the ill-fated German Grand Prix at the Nordschleife, the emotional Italian Grand Prix, and the dramatic finale of the Japanese Grand Prix at Fuji. There are a lot of extreme close-ups of the driver's eyes from within the helmet, as well as some well-used point of view and onboard shots which really add to the experience. This is a film best seen on the big screen for these reasons. Story. In order to follow the 2 protagonists, the film cuts between them. The first half of the film establishes a lot of background for the characters, and Frankfurt doesn't waste too much time introducing us to the sport. Hunt literally rocks up at the circuit, girlfriend in his arm, introduces his mates, has his customary pre-race routine of throw up, drink champagne and have a smoke, and then gets in the car. There's a bit of car talk jargon here and there, but it's always brief and never drags down the audience. It's just to show the specialist intellect of characters like Niki Lauda. Whilst the first half mainly focuses on their pre-Formula One careers, the film's second half is where it really gets going, with an even stronger triumph over adversity story coming to the fore, and more focus on the racing scenes, while still showing the developing relationship between the lead characters. Personally, I found Lauda's story to be the more engaging one. He always says how he feels, even if this comes across as arrogant and makes him unpopular as the Rat, his nickname. That said, I still found Hunt's story to have some merit and be quite interesting, Beneath the booze, glamour and sexual prowess, a more vulnerable and lonesome figure is hinted at. My only really complaint with the story as a whole was that the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch was heavily glossed over. There's no mention of Hunt's disqualification or the British crowd's partisan protests of "We want Hunt," forcing the organisers to relent and let him race. But the film was over 2 hours long anyway, so they could be forgiven for having to condense this part. Other things I noticed. Hans Zimmer's soundtrack is something that adds real weight and depth to the film, combining a carefree and vibrant atmosphere in tracks like Oysters in the Pits with the chilling horror of Inferno. And it's complemented well by the use of period 70s music like Give Me Some Lovin' and Bowie's Fame. At the same time, the sound editor knows when to let the engine do the talking. Or even at one moment, when Lauder shuts his visor down, cutting off the noise from the outside world completely, showing the isolation of the driver in the cockpit. There are also some great moments of humour in the film. F1 fans love Enzo Ferrari's cameo in the film, reading a newspaper whilst his cars are driven just inches in front of him. And they'll also like Lauder's subsequent remark to a mechanic, "Unbelievable, you have the best resources and facilities in the world, and you still make me a shitbox of a car." Or subtle touches like Hunt trying to play slot car Skeletrix to cheer himself up and then crashing off.
It was my line. I had that corner.
What do you mean, the one that you spun out of and finished facing the other way? I think that corner had you.
That move was total suicide. But if I hadn't braked, we'd have crashed.
Well, no, but we didn't, did we? Thanks to your impeccable survival instincts.
What's your name?
It's very simple. Hunt. It rhymes with the word you perfectly.
Who is that?
I have no idea. He looks like a rat, doesn't he?
So that was the review. What's the conclusion, Edward?
Well, Formula One films seem to be having a bit of a revival at the moment, with the 2011 cinematic documentary Senna paving the way for a new audience beyond just the petrol heads. And Rush, a fantastic film in its own right, deserves to have decent success at the box office, and perhaps it can go on to even greater success at the Oscars.
Yeah, I'd agree, because this is a film really for the mainstream, but it does nothing to upset the enthusiasts. I'm fairly interested in Formula One, and I loved it, and I loved it even more as a film. It was really moving, it showed two great characters, and it really works as a film.
It's very poignant.
It is poignant, especially the bits where Lauder's being treated. I found those really almost disturbing, because it was quite really put over the pain he was going through, and how him seeing Hunt winning those races helped him pull through. So in the end, what's your conclusion? Marks out of 10?
Well, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is, beyond doubt, the best movie I've seen this year, much better than The World's End and Star Trek Into Darkness.
I'd agree with both of those. They're the films we've seen so far this year, and I agree. Best film of the year? Go see it.
Miss it at your peril.